Yeah.
Okay, welcome to our latest live interviews, and tonight we've got Jayson and Kim Cavill. And I think the first time I met you two was at John and Shirley's wedding. We sat next to each other in that what's it called? The little tent thing.
Yeah.
And I think we'd met before, but that was the first time I'd really sort of sat down and chatted to you. So that was really nice. So thanks so much for doing this tonight. And those that are listening, watching, if you want to leave some comments, maybe say how you know Jayson and Kim. And if you've got any questions, put them on and we'll drag those onto the screen and we'll ask those as we go along. But just to kick off, guys, if you can just tell us what you've done today in these strange times.
Shall I go first? Because yours is more exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, my day's been pretty steady. I just took Indy out for a walk this morning, and I just did a bit of training when I got back, and then I've been working most of the day and put together a video that we're putting out tomorrow. So I just managed to finish that off and have tea, and then we're sat here. So yeah, quite a sort of normal day for me, really.
I went out and trained first thing. I've been having a bit of a week where I've just been doing sort of what I fancy, so I went and chased a couple of Strava segments this week. So, and we've got a mile challenge on with our club at the moment, so I did a fast mile this morning and then went and bagged a little hill segment, which was nice. I got both of those nailed, and then I've been working as well this afternoon. So yeah.
So can we ask what your mile time was, Kim?
It was 6:02 today.
Very good. So you're happy with that?
Yeah, I was pleased. Yeah, I've not done it for a couple of years, so yeah, I was pleased with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, during the interview, I've got a few clips of you guys running, so we'll bring those in as we go along. And we've got 17 people now sort of live watching us. So if anyone wants to leave a comment, leave a question, then put those on, and hopefully a few more people will join us as well. And then I'll also put this on my YouTube channel, which is on the screen there, youtube.com/Kynaston. So if you want to subscribe, and you'll be able to watch the interview tomorrow as well, if you can't quite catch it now. So I thought we'd just start, guys, just by maybe just introducing yourselves. Just tell us a little bit about yourselves, about how you got to this point in life.
Gosh, in relation to the two of us, we met in 2012, I think.
Yes.
Yes. Our running club, and then we got together in 2013, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind, hasn't it?
Does it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, good. That's all right.
We've both sort of converged in 2012, but we've been very different paths, I think, that led to running. So with me, it was sort of your standard. I was a bit of a vain teenager, and I got into keeping fit at the gym and did a Race for Life was my first race, and then I joined a running club, and it was kind of just spiraled from there, really. The running club introduced you to a lot of different races that you don't know exist, a lot of places to run that you don't know exist. And I was lucky in that my running club, we do a lot of local fell races, so that was how I got into the trail sort of scene. And then Jayson got dragged out on a few longer runs. I used to do longer runs in the woods on a Sunday, and then we kind of got into ultras together. And then Jayson's side of the story is slightly quicker into the coaching than me, but I jumped on that as well 2 years ago. I think. Yeah, two or more years ago. I started coaching part-time because I was too scared to make the leap from leaving work. I used to be a secondary school teacher, and eventually just got more part-time with school, and eventually then made the leap to coaching full-time last summer. But really, Jayson sort of started that all off, didn't you?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for me, like Kim says, we kind of met a few years ago, and running became a big part of our lives. I hadn't ever really run seriously before then. I was in the army. I joined the army when I was 17, so it was a part of that. Did my All Arms Commando course before I left. So running was a big part of what I did in that respect, but it wasn't specific racing. It was more running, wearing boots and carrying weight and stuff like that. So running was part of your job, whereas what we're doing now, I would say, is more of an enjoyable pastime slash profession. And I was always a cyclist, and when I was a teenager, it was mountain biking and mountain bike racing until not that long ago, and I started running to try and keep fit for the mountain biking, because my job at the time, I was travelling a lot, and it was just a lot easier to put a pair of trainers in a suitcase than it was to try and take a bike anywhere with you. So that was how I started, and then I just realised that I enjoyed the running a lot more, and I started putting a bit more effort into my training and things like that. Kim dragged me along to a few fell races and found I was actually all right at it. So I think when you start to realise you're quite good at something, it pulls you in a bit more as well. So so that was how that started, and then I started coaching 4 or 5 years ago now. I actually went on a sabbatical from the job that I had at the time. They let me go on an 18-month sabbatical. I think they were kind of thinking that it wasn't going to work out and I'd be coming back, but things did work out, and it was challenging, but actually after the 18-month sabbatical ran out, I really had to pull my finger out and get stuck into the coaching, and because I enjoyed it so much, it just went so well. So that was the sort of background behind that.
Excellent. Well, we've got we're up to 37 people now watching live. We've had a message from John Steele. Hiya, Jayson and Kim. We've had a message from Noel Jones. Hi, Jayson and Kim, from Noel in Saltburn. So I assume he's a friend.
I know.
Georgina Lundy says, "You're making me want a cuppa, Tim." So, okay.
It's water. Sorry.
All right.
Just water.
Yeah. Just a little quiz question as well. You might notice behind me, I've got a picture of a mountain. If anyone can tell me what that mountain is, then you get a bonus point. And I've got some questions. I'm going to leave Sean Fisher's got a question about the spine, but I want to come on to that in a minute. But we've got a question from David Whiston, who says, how does Jayson find training now compared to being made to in the forces? So how do you find training compared to being made to? Now it's a choice rather than being made to do it.
Cool. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Dave's an old army buddy. We spent 6 months living in a 6 foot wide porta cabin together. So yeah, hi, Dave. Sorry. Yeah. I think it's different because you have to be in the army. It's a bit easier, to be honest, because you don't have a lot of choice a lot of the time. You just have to go and do it. Whereas training now, it's completely up to you. Unless you're working with a coach, but even when you're working with a coach, it's, you have to be more motivated. So I think it's more important to know and understand yourself and why you're doing something. Whereas the army, it was probably a bit easier just to coast along and be sort of pulled along with other people in that respect. But then it's different, in other ways as well. I'd probably say doing my commando course was by far the hardest thing mentally that I've ever had to do. And, we'll come on to the spine in a bit, but, the spine's probably the closest thing that's come to challenge me mentally from that side of things, but it still hasn't quite got near it. That was pretty tough.
Yeah. Okay, we've had a comment from Nick Brown. He says, the mountain behind me is Mont Blanc. So well done, that was right. We've also had a nice little comment from Sean Fisher. Also, Kim helped me achieve my goal of doing the Hardmoors 55. Much respect, she's a top coach. So there you go, Kim.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, and I'll take that one. And then I've got a another comment here from David Toth. He says, "Hi, Jayson and Kim, loving your daily workouts." So maybe you can just tell us a little bit about your daily workouts and how they're going at the moment.
We decided a couple of weeks ago that we needed to do something productive, but not intense, crazy. Like it feels at the moment that there's a lot of choice, and a lot of people are coming online and giving you all these workouts to do, and I think a lot of people are just doing them all because it seems like a good idea. So we thought, let's put together a bit of a structured program about how to stay focused, just not just for running but fitness in general. So we've been doing one workout session a week on a Wednesday, and then we've been doing sort of exercise of the week and looking at a bit of mobility on another day, and some sort of mental mindset stuff on a Sunday. So it's been really good, actually. It's been really fun to do. We've done a couple of Tabata sessions, so they're quite high intensity sort of interval bodyweight sessions, and I think people have been enjoying those the most.
Yeah,
because everyone likes to get sweaty and work hard.
So on these sessions, I was going to say, on these sessions, are people watching live, or do you post them up and then they do it when they want?
No, we pre-record them and then we'll post them up so that people can then just pick them up and do them when they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
The idea is that people can sort of repeat them if they want. They can do the same session each week for a few weeks and maybe improve a little bit.
Yeah. So rather than we put them on YouTube first and then share them off YouTube, and then that way, we've got a video about doing squats or getting up out of a chair and how a squat can be incorporated into that. So it's something that you can watch anytime. It doesn't have to be at this period of time or whatever. So it's always going to be there.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thanks so much for doing those. And I know I've had a look at one or two of them, and they look really good. So that's great. Thank you. Right. I would like to sort of think about the spine race now, Jayson, because there's been a couple of questions, and we've had one from Sean Fisher. Jayson, you made the spine race for me this year. Is that an itch that still needs scratching? And then, Kim, there's also a question for you. What's your next itch? So we'll come on to you in a moment. And then we've also got a question from Paul Richardson. Hi, guys. Jayson, just how bad was the pain during the spine? Really enjoyed following your progress. So what I thought I'd like to do, I've got a little video of taken from the official videos, Jayson. So it'll last about a minute and a half. So I'll put that on now, and then we can pick it up, and you can tell us a little bit about your spine race and how bad was the pain. So I'll put the video on now, and we can watch that, and then we'll come back to you.
I had problems with my shins and tendonitis. Just become too painful to sort of carry on really. I can't keep going when it's like that, and I don't want to put myself on the Cheviets crawling in the cold and then some poor sod have to come and rescue me.
Okay, so maybe that was painful to watch, I don't know. But I must admit, like many people, I just loved following your progress, Jayson, in the spine. You were sort of in the top 3, then you dropped a little bit, and then the last day or so you were catching, and just at the point where you had to drop out, I really thought you were going to catch John Kelly. You looked as though you were moving well. So just tell us a little bit about what it was like for you, the whole experience, please.
Yeah, it's quite weird looking back now because it's easy to laugh about it. It was a very epic experience that took a long time to process, and I think that just goes to show how kind of epic it was for me. and still getting feedback from people saying how much they enjoyed watching the race and things like that is just, amazing. But yeah, it was such a really obviously tough experience, but at the same time, it was more than I thought it was going to be in terms of how the race went. I kind of had a plan in my mind of what I knew I needed to do, and it was more a case of, to be competitive, you have to be, still in the game at 200 miles. There's no point going out in the first 100 miles and trying to race that first 100 miles and wrecking yourself and not being able to carry on. So the game plan was always to get to Hawes, which is about 115 miles, in decent shape, and not worry too much about position or anything like that. And I kind of, going into it the year before, obviously dropping out at Hawes, it still gave me a really good idea of what to expect and how to run that race. And I knew how much the race does, or how much people do slow down after that first 100 miles as well. So I think in training I knew what a comfortable pace was and how much I could run and walk to still be moving at a decent pace and covering the ground relatively quickly. And I feel like, I stuck to my game plan pretty well up until, we got to Middleton and I took a longer sleep than everybody else. That was the second night, and I decided to have 4 hours sleep, whereas most people were having 1.5, 2 hours. And it was a bit weird because I woke up, I got woken up at 7 o'clock in the morning kind of thing, and I was keen to get out, and everybody else had, they were like 2.5, 3 hours ahead of me at that point. And I honestly felt like I had like a full 10 hours sleep. I felt amazing, and I was kind of laughing because the others had got up after an hour and a half, and they weren't too happy, and the checkpoint staff were just laughing that I looked so fresh by then, and had such a lovely sleep and lie in kind of thing. But I felt so good when I left that checkpoint, and that next day, I was just having to hold myself back. I felt like I was bouncing off the walls, and I felt I made good time upon people. Then we got to the next checkpoint, and I think it was 9 o'clock at night, and Eugene and Ian had decided to have a sleep, and there was no way I could have slept. I was wide awake. I was absolutely buzzing, and I made time upon John. So it was sort of a case of, let's get out there and try and. I wanted to try and catch him, but I knew that section up over Hadrian's Wall and all over those fields and everything was a tough section to navigate. So it was kind of about damage limitation as well. And that was definitely the hardest bit. Hadrian's Wall, where all you wanted to do was just sit down and fall asleep and close your eyes and go to sleep. And the underfoot conditions, I think that was probably the hardest thing about the whole thing. It wasn't the weather, it wasn't the lack of sleep, it was just the underfoot conditions were just relentless mud and bog, so your feet were just constantly wet, and that's probably what did the most damage to me. Was I got kind of trench foot, so I couldn't put my front of my foot down properly, so I was running on my heels. And it was just doing a lot of damage, and I did feel I could have caught John. I caught him in the checkpoint, and I think he did the right thing by stopping to have the rest that he did. But I was keen to get out there and get after him, and I felt I could have caught him, but he was so strong and so just determined that every time anybody got near him, he managed to dig so deep and pull away again. So I may have caught him, but it would have been a different thing trying to pass him. And as it happened, I don't know whether it was just things took its toll, or I put 2 thick pairs of socks on in that last checkpoint, and that really put constraints around my feet. So I don't know if that gave me a bit of compartmental syndrome as well, and just cut circulation off a bit much. But the pain that pulled me out of the race it wasn't like, oh, shall I stop or shall I keep going? I just couldn't keep going. Literally, it was like someone had 2 red hot knives and they were shoving them up the front of my shins. So it was, I could probably have crawled on my hands and knees. But I'm not going to go over the Cheviots crawling on my hands and knees when it's cold and dodgy like that. At the same time, I didn't want to be somebody that they had to pull off the hill because they were in, hypothermic state.
Yeah.
I think you've got to know when to say enough's enough, and it wasn't an easy thing to do, especially when you've got Pavel Polonce, who's part of the Japanese film crew, stood next to you with the camera, and this is the guy that I've looked up to for years and years, hard as nails. He's won the spine race, and in some horrendous conditions, and I'm like crawling along next to him with the camera, thinking he must be just thinking, what an idiot. And having to make the decision to pull out in front of somebody like him was not, it wasn't something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So the video of me in the checkpoint, saying why I'd stopped and stuff, it was genuine. I was genuinely devastated, really. I was gutted, but at the same time, I was there to race.
Yeah.
And I was in that position where I went into that last checkpoint and I could have said, I'm going to stop here, I'm going to sleep, I'm going to bag second place. I'm going to sleep, I'm going to rest, I'm going to let everything settle down, and I'm going to, do everything I can to get second place, or I'm going to go for it and try and go for the win. And that was what I did, and that was what I would do again.
Yeah.
So I'd love to have given him a race all the way to the end, but it didn't happen. Yeah.
So have you already booked in for next year?
I have a place, I think. We'll see how it goes. If I go back, I want to make sure that the things that pulled me out I've taken care of, and I can finish it. I'm not gonna go through all that again and put him through all that again as well.
Yeah.
Without knowing that I can finish.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much. And obviously we could talk a lot more about the spine, but that's given us a good insight. Thank you. We've got a comment from your mum, Kim. She says, "Hi, Kim and Jayson. Mum here watching. She says it's the only way she gets to see you just now. So she's obviously missing you." And I thought, Kim, I'd just like to maybe just talk to you a little bit about some of the races you've done. And I've got one photo here that, you won't be able to see this, but it's you and me coming into Robin Hood's Bay when we did the Hardmoor 60. And we ran quite a bit together that day, didn't we? We did, yeah. Yeah, it was really, and that was one of your first ultras, wasn't it, I think?
It was my first one over 30 odd miles, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a learning experience. I didn't have a good one.
Right. Yeah.
You helped me a lot, actually.
Well, I think we had a good time. I think you finished just ahead of me, so we had we had a good time. And then the other one I wanted to talk about a little bit is the Ring of Fire. I did this a couple of years ago, and you did it last year. I've just put a little map on the screen here. So it's basically 3 days, 35 miles, 65, and 33. And then I've got just a couple of photos. One of you at the finish line, and I think I had one, on the beach, just when you're on the first day when you're running along the beach there. So just tell us just a little bit about the Ring of Fire and doing a 3-day race where it's 3 stages rather than a continuous race.
Yeah, it was a whole new level for me. It was something we'd been to Anglesey, I don't know when, a couple of years before, and just thought it was gorgeous. It was really lovely and peaceful. I really like running at the coast as well, and I wanted to do something. Sounds ridiculous to say that, but I wanted to do something that wasn't just a single stage ultra, that I kind of knew, what was going to happen if I went into it. Okay. So it was a bit of a gamble, really. I tried not to have any expectations going in. It's easier said than done, but it was really, it was tough. And I had really good support. You're allowed to have your own accommodation if you want on that race. You don't have to stay in the halls. I know you stayed in the hall. Did you stay in the halls? I think
I did. Yes.
Village Hall and
yeah. The first night.
I can't.
Yeah, the first night was really funny because the guy who was the caretaker, he forgot to switch the lights off. So the sports hall lights were on the whole night. And I kept thinking, surely they'll switch them off soon. But then they didn't. So, no, it wasn't the best.
Well, when I did it, it was really windy on the night as well. So we were in the motorhome in the car park. And I didn't have brilliant sleep either nights, but I was in a bed, it wasn't like I was sleeping on a floor, and something was banging apparently on the roof of the sports centre all night, so no one got any sleep that first night. So yeah, we had the motorhome. I had Jayson supporting me all the way through, as well as the checkpoints, so I did it in the easiest way possible. Just to take, because I'm a great believer in, you do these things and they're really hard, and you shouldn't make it any harder than it already is. What's the point? If it's within the rules to do something, then take all the help you can get, because it's going to be tough. So yeah, it's a gorgeous race, really beautiful scenery. There's a lot more. We did recce it over about a week, and when you break it up into a week, it seems very different to actually when you put it all together on race weekend. So there was quite a bit more road than I realised. My feet and my legs suffered for that. The weather wasn't great either. It was very windy. I kind of got a bit of blurred wind vision at one point on day one up on the cliffs, and got a bit blown off course. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was very, very tough. I didn't know after the second day how I was going to get up and go again on the third day, and it wasn't pretty. I remember on the last day I added miles on as well on day 2 and day 3. I don't know how I did it when I knew where I was going, but I did. I ended up doing 67 or something on day 2, which is in itself a long way. On day 3, I remember I was running along with my poles. I had my poles in my hands all day, and this guy came and walked next to me. He was like, "Do you mind if I walk with you?" And I said, and I was sort of saying in my head, "Walk." I'm not walking. And he was basically walking fast next to me, and I'm sort of running. It was ridiculous, but yeah, brilliant, really fantastic race. The organisers are brilliant. Yeah. And
there's that big hill on the last day, isn't it? Do you remember the big climb?
The mountain.
Yeah.
They call it a mountain. Yeah. It wasn't that bad. That wasn't that bad for me. The thing that made that a little bit upsetting for me was I was pushing so hard, and there were 3 or 4 guys that kept catching me, who I knew had taken a little bit of a shortcut. They'd chopped some off. Because they'd come out in front of me, and they just kept catching me, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to go faster downhill, so I was trying really hard to go up that hill as fast as I could, and I was ahead of them all the way up, and then they just bombed past me at the end on the descent because my feet hurt too much. But yeah, it's a nice little hill. I think it's cool.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, really lovely area. I would recommend it. Because they do look after you. They're a lot of fun. But it's hard. I know a lot of people, a few people that I ran with over the weekend, it was their first, some of them's first ultra even. And to do that is crazy, but very brave. And they made it, and they did really well. So it just shows that you don't have to go into that one, I think, with tons of big ultra experience, because they do look after you so well, and they make it quite easy. The course is fairly easy to follow. So yeah, I would say it's one to try. Yeah, lovely place.
Does it appeal to you, that one, Jayson?
Kim doesn't want me to do it.
No, it doesn't, does it?
It kind of does, and I think it's just one of those things, isn't it? There's so many things to try and go and do. It's just prioritising the ones that you want to do the most. But yeah, I'd love to do it.
It's not technical enough
but
for you, I don't
at the same time, there's probably other ones that I'd prefer to do over it.
Yeah. Okay, let's.
But yeah, it was still. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah. The next race. Yeah, and you finished first lady, didn't you, Kim?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about 4 hours ahead of the others, and I was still freaking out. I was panicking.
Yeah.
Every time I saw another lady, I was like, "Where did she come from? She must have cheated." That's ridiculous. Yeah. It makes you really paranoid when it's 3 days and you don't really know what's going on or who's who. That was a weird experience as well.
Because even though each day everyone starts off at the same time, by day 3 you don't know. You don't know people's accumulative time, do you? So you might have 3 hours on them. So you could come second by an hour and still win, couldn't you? It's
and it was really close with the second and third ladies, and they actually presented. The lady that was second was like, they said there was about a minute in it.
Wow!
And they got it wrong on the day
between second and third
because it was so tight. I don't know how they worked it out when it was that close. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the next race I'd like to think about is the Lakeland races, because you've both done those, and Jayson, you've won the 50 3 times, so I would imagine that must be one of up there with your best achievements in ultra running. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's such a well-established race with some really, some good runners have done that over the years as well. So yeah, it's definitely up there. Yeah, for me.
Well, again, I've got another little video clip for people to watch, and you can have a little break for a minute or two. And it's just the end of the 2016 race. And I actually took this video, and we'd come down to watch the races, and we were there seeing you finish. And the thing that impresses me about this is just your pace of running in at the end, just how strong you were. So I'm just going to show that now, and then you can maybe tell us a little bit about your Lakeland 50 experiences.
Come on, Jayson.
Yeah, so that was just a little clip of you finishing that was the 2016 race. That was the first year you won it, wasn't it? I think.
Was it?
Second.
I think that was second.
Okay.
2015.
Yeah, I think Cuthbert, that was the year I ran with Casper. Casper Karsipstein. Saberstein, sorry. So that was the year I ran with him, and I think I was caning it into the finish because I kind of suddenly realised that I could sneak under the current course record time, which belonged to Ben Abdelnour, and I managed to sneak in about a minute or two underneath the course record. So I collapsed on the floor at the end, and they always try and drag me up off the floor and want me to go in the marquee, and I just want to lay on the floor for a little while and enjoy the fact that everything stopped hurting. But I think every year, whether we go back, we've been back when we've not been racing as well, and it's just such a great weekend for everybody. Whether you're doing the 50, you're doing the 100, or you're there supporting somebody, it's always such a fun weekend to be involved with. And I love the race. I love I love the 50 route a lot. Probably got some unfinished business with the 100 route, but I love the 50 mile route's brilliant.
Yeah. I'm actually interviewing Mark Laithwaite in a couple of weeks, so it'll be interesting just to get his perspective on it as well. 'Cause it's an amazing race, isn't it? From where they started to where it is now. With the 50 and the 100. So it'd be interesting to chat to Mark.
Is he bringing Mr. Fox as well?
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. And
he's a big reason I think that race is so good, because he I don't know how he does it. He's obviously a lovely person, but he really injects something into it and makes everyone feel important and special that does it. It doesn't matter how fast you are or when you finish. It's just one of my favourite things about that weekend is the video at the prize giving.
Yeah.
How they put that together so quickly, and it always brings a lump to your throat, doesn't it? It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Kim, you've done the 50 as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done it twice. I did it. Jayson entered me into it without asking me in 2015. I was doing the Hardmoors Grand Slam that year, and I didn't really want to do anything else. It was pretty big already, and he entered me into it. I suddenly got an email without realising. I didn't like running in the Lake District. I didn't mind walking there, but I really didn't fancy it, to be honest. And we recce'd it a couple of times, and I kind of got over that and started to enjoy it. And I enjoyed 2015. I remember Debbie Martin Consani passing me running up out of Pooley Bridge. I'd obviously set off too fast because she passed me and told me that I was looking strong when I was walking and she was running. That was funny. I had a really good time. I did better than I thought I was going to do that year. And then the year after, I went back, and not year after, 2 years later, 2017, it was the year that Katie Carr-Saberstein got the course record, not like half an hour off or something ridiculous. And I was second to her, so I was really pleased with that. Yeah. And I took 40 odd minutes off my previous time as well. So it's a builder. You need to learn it, I think, a little bit and go back. And do it again to achieve your potential, I think. But it's awesome.
Yeah. Well done.
I just remember learning the route from watching all of your videos, John.
Oh, good. Excellent.
The race.
You and Dave Truman,
yeah. Oh, we had great fun making those. It was good. I think out of all the videos I've done, they're probably the most popular in the sense of, people every year go back and watch them again. So, it's been good. Right, I've got a few more questions, so I'm going to come on to those. But I've got one more little clip, and this is of you this time, Kim. And this is last year when you won the St. Cuthbert's Ultra, and you were second overall. But and Jayson ran in the last 5 minutes with you. And the thing that comes across on this one, I've put it down to just over a minute, so it's sort of just that over the last 5 minutes. But you can just see how hard you're working. And if you can hear some grunts, it's not me watching, it's actually Kim running. But it just shows just how hard you were working right to the end. And I think you were being chased a bit, were you? Is that right?
Yeah, but he was quite a way off. I was trying.
I told her he was right behind us.
I was trying to get under 12 hours.
Okay.
If you got under 12 hours, that was kind of a golden benchmark for that race, and only the first two of us did. So that's what I was aiming for. I was about 15 seconds under, so that's why I was going as hard as I was.
Okay, well let's watch that, and then we'll just have a quick chat about that one. So here we go.
Go on, let's push. Left. Well done, go right. Come on.
You are like him. Seconds into 12 hours.
That's why you got a ball.
I heard her breathing come down here across the tent until she got under the 12 hours. I was like, I need her in.
Everybody just fell apart after 40 miles.
Yeah. We're back on now. So So Kim, just watching that back, how does it make you feel? Do you remember the pain?
Not really. It's funny, isn't it? You kind of you forget about it. It was really, it was hard. My lungs were hurting. I think more than anything, I'd been working relatively hard all day, but just at the end, I'd overtaken a couple of people really close to the end, and it was getting quite intense. Jayson was pushing me on a little bit because I am competitive, but I'm not really competitive. Like, I can quite easily go, I'm in a comfortable position now, I'll hang on, I'll coast it in, it'll be fine. Whereas Jason's like, no, you're in second, you've got to keep it up. And he told me that Ben, who's someone that he coaches, who's much faster than me, he told me that Ben was close behind me. I didn't know where he was, so I just believed him. And I was like, no, I'll be happy with third. I'm sure I'll be really, really happy with third. And he's like, no, because tomorrow you'll be going, I wish I could have pushed a bit harder and tried to get to second. And he's right. It's just in that moment, you think I would be happy with third because I've worked hard and that's a good result. But it was a brilliant race. Again, we were friends with Tim and Gary who organise it. I'd fancied it for a while. I really like Northumberland. Again, a bit of it is on the coast. I liked the idea of starting on Hurley Island as well. I thought that was really cool. I liked the idea of actually finishing on Hurley Island, and now they've changed it. So they're doing a race the tide. I don't know, this year maybe, where they're going to start at a different time of day, and you've got to beat the tide before it crosses the causeway. So that's really cool. But it was a fantastic race. Again, it was my best result last year.
It was hot, wasn't it?
Really hot, really humid. And I don't know if you just caught Jayson saying it, everyone started to fall apart. So I think I didn't realise what position I was in until later on, because I just kept chugging away and everyone else was just stopping. They were in checkpoints and I'd just go past. I'd go through the checkpoint without stopping, and they were just in there, dehydrated and hot.
Good. Well,
it was a great race.
Well, well done on that one. We're up to 48 people that are watching now, so welcome to everybody who's joined us. And I've got 2 or 3 questions left, and then I would like to finish with some quick fire questions. And I would like to finish by 8 o'clock, so those who want to go out and applaud the key workers and NHS, we've got time to do that. So if you could maybe keep your answers just a little bit shorter on these ones, that would be good. So the first one for Mick Brown. Is after such a good race with John Kelly, is the Barkley Marathons on the agenda?
That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be so cool. I'd love to. What? Don't look at me like that.
I'd like to support it.
I grew up in a forest, and that's all I used to do was run around the forest, hacking through the undergrowth. So, I'd absolutely love to go and do that. That'd be brilliant.
Okay,
Maybe figure that out sometime. We'll see.
Yeah.
Get the spine done first.
Yeah. Look forward to that. Sean Fisher wants to know, Kim, what's my next dot watching weekend? So what's your next race, or what you hope to do?
I'm hoping to do the UTS 50 in mid-June. There's been no word of that being cancelled yet, but I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, which is in Snowdonia. The Tot Dret is the next big one. That's September. Again, it's in Italy, so I don't know what's going to happen. It's part of the Tour de Géant week. It's 80 miles, over 80 miles in the Italian Alps, and it takes people a very long time, longer than it would take you in this country to do 80 miles. So that would be a good one to watch, Sean, over a few days. But it might not happen yet, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on that one. And then a good question here from Georgina Lundell. As such an awesome pair of ultra runners, she wants to know, how do you find switching your pace from 100+ mile races to speed work and short, sharp fell races? Can you effectively do both in the same training block, or do you do one or the other? So she wants to know, how do you switch from 100-mile races to speed work and short, sharp fell races? Can you do both?
I think you can do both. You have to separate them out a little bit. You have to plan your year. Yeah,
I think it's all, you can use one to help the other, but not at the same time. You can't be good at doing 100 miles and then be good at doing a 5K or get your best out of yourself at that time.
You can do it all, can't you? But it's how it felt.
You can do it all, but you need to compromise, I think. You know, you need to accept, I might be a little bit slower at my speed work because I'm doing lots of endurance stuff. But then you can build a good endurance base and do a lot of good, fast work on top of that. So, yeah.
I think it's important to do both at some point or another as well. Mix it up in a well-planned way. And then you're not burning yourself out too. The fell races are something that we often go back to in the winter, just to take some of the load off, which sounds funny, because they are hard, but they're that much shorter, they're that much quicker to recover from, and they give you a really good base to go into the next year with.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. And I'm sure if she wants more information, she can contact you and get some more advice as well.
She already knows. She's already there.
Right. Good. Okay, well, I've got 5 questions that I'd like to ask you, and you can take turns on answering them or chip in the ones that you want to. These are questions that I've asked a couple of interviews I've done so far. The first one is, what's the best piece of advice that you've been given that you remember and that it still comes to mind?
Do you have one?
Go on, you go.
I couldn't think of a piece of advice because I tend to take from what people say and assimilate it all. So there's no sound bite, I don't think. But one of the best things that I ever learned early on is that idea that I talked about with St Cuthbert's, where I'm competitive but not enough sometimes to push myself really hard. And I only started to do that when Jayson ran a marathon with me at the same time as me, and sort of helped me understand that, I thought I was working hard, but I wasn't really. There's what you think you're doing in a race, and then what you can potentially do, and you can always give a little bit more if you really want to. So that really helped me to learn how to race properly when I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's when she started making funny noises.
Yeah, works. It works.
How about you, Jayson?
Probably similar to Kim. I think, you kind of take all these things and bring them together. I think it's probably was gaining confidence over your abilities, and getting that experience of doing different things, and not just getting stuck in a rut. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Second question: what is your favourite piece of kit?
For me now at the moment, it's the Montane Gecko backpack. It's just nice, it's simple, clean, you can fit a load of stuff in it, it's very comfortable, and it does the job, and it's not expensive compared to a lot of other race vests. It's a really, really good buy.
And is that designed for women particularly, or is it unisex?
It's unisex, so I'm quite small, and it fits me, the small fits me well. I think they're bringing out some different sizes as well, so the new small is going to be a bit smaller, so it's probably going to fit even better. Yeah. Really, really good buy. Yeah. Multi-purpose.
Jayson?
I was trying to think of it in what I use the most. I've got this, Montane will love this, but I've got this Montane windproof that they don't make anymore. But it folds up so tiny that I can just I've got a little gel pocket and it tucks up inside that. So it's it's one of those things where I just use it all the time. And if you're going out on a run and you kind of think, I'm going to be warm when I get going, but it's a bit cold to start with, I just take that and stuff it in my little pocket.
Me too, actually, same thing. I can't remember what it's called, but I've got the new version and it does the same. It does fold up really small. I can't remember what it's called though.
I think it's the Featherlight.
Featherlight, yeah. Featherlight.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Question 3. What is your go-to food in a long ultra? Have you got a particular food that when you're struggling that you know you can always eat?
It's Kendal mint cake for me. I never get bored of it. It's easy to eat. Just pure sugar. It melts in your mouth so you don't have to work at it. And because it's mint, it's really clean tasting. So you don't, for me, I never get that, I don't really fancy it, because I think you can always eat minty flavour. So yeah, I can eat that at any point, but definitely towards the end of a race, that saved me a few times.
Yeah, I found fruit, either satsumas or apples, thanks to Shirley Steele, telling me I should eat an apple once, and it was just tasted like the best thing ever. But yeah, just fruit, I find it's not something that sustains me, but it just helps refresh me and settles my tummy and stuff.
Yeah. It's amazing. Sometimes when you get to a checkpoint and there's watermelon or oranges or something, it's amazing, isn't it? It just gives you a bit of a lift.
I did the South Downs Way 50 2 years ago now, and they have a brilliant selection of fruit at every checkpoint, just everything you could wish for. And I remember going out with 2 handfuls, and this guy came past me and he was like, "Oh, I didn't realise there was a checkpoint there." And I'm like, "Get away from me, I'm not having any of that." It was really awful of me because he just kept going, but it was brilliant. It was gorgeous. Yeah.
Okay, question 4. Now it's a bit of a hard one, this, but if you could only do one more ultra, which one would it be?
I'm going to have to say UTMB. I haven't done it yet, and it's always been on my list since I heard about it. Just I know there's a lot of controversy about how you can get in and everything, but I still think for me it's up there with just one of the ultimate ultras. The atmosphere is amazing, and I'd love to cross that finish line in Chamonix, having finished it. Yeah.
Yeah, at this point in time, this point in spine. Clearly I've got some issues going on there. So I mean, it'd be the spine, but I think there's a few others that I'd like to get done on the way to doing the spine again.
Yeah,
Hardmore's 110 being one of them. But spine.
Yeah. Any thoughts of doing the West Highland Way? I know you've done it, Kim. Is it on your agenda, Jayson?
I'd like to go back to it, but I don't know about this summer. The midges just killed me. I would like to try it again, personally, but I don't know when.
Yeah, I would like to do it. It's one of the ones that I do want to sort of tick off.
Yeah. On
the way to sort of getting back into the spine, I think.
Yeah. Well, you'd be very welcome whenever you want to come back, the pair of you. Yeah. And then the last question I had was, do you have a mantra to keep you going when things get tough?
This was my longest. I've made some notes. This was my longest one because I tend to tell myself to come on a lot. I shout at myself, come on, when it's getting really hard. I think I might have done it in that video actually. But generally, I'll just talk to myself, or I'll talk to things that are around me to take myself outside a little bit. I also sometimes sing, so whether it's in my head or out loud, I'll get some lyrics stuck in my head and I'll just go and repeat. So the Hardmore's 50 this last year, it was I can't remember which song it is, from The Greatest Showman. It was a line, "It's only this moment, don't care what comes after," and that just kept going round in my head. I've had. If anyone wants some really good mantra material, listen to the second verse of Let It Go from Frozen, because all of it's golden. It's funny how some distance makes everything seem small. That's just, do you know what I mean?
Genius.
Yeah. Loads, just song lyrics that just go and repeat in my head really help me. I don't know if it's the repetition, but really uplifting things like that help me a lot.
Yeah.
Do you?
It's pretty simple. And it's only when I'm racing, it's not over till the finish line. And that works both ways. In that if I'm chasing somebody, it isn't over until you get to the finish line, anything can happen. And likewise, if you're in the lead or you're ahead, then it's don't slack off. It's not over yet. So that's it for me.
Yeah, great. Well, they're great answers and great time. Really enjoyed chatting to you tonight. It's been really good. I just want to finish really, so we can finish in the next couple of minutes. I hope you've enjoyed it tonight. I hope it hasn't been too hard for you, and it's been great. It's been great just to get your thoughts and get some ideas from you. So that's been great. And I just wanted to put up next week. I've got some more interviews. So next Tuesday, that's the following week. Next week, just put this one up. Next week, I'm interviewing on Tuesday Marcus and Jen Scotney. So they're good. They're good friends of yours, aren't they? So that's next Tuesday, and then next Thursday, Ian Keith, who's Jayson will know from the Spine and various long races. He's done Barclay last year, so it'll be interesting to chat to him. And then the following week, I've got interviewing on Tuesday Shane Orley. That'll be in the morning on the 21st at 10 o'clock. And then the Thursday, the 23rd, Mark Laithwaite, who runs the Lakeland races, as we mentioned before. So there'll be a few more interviews coming up over the next week. And this one will go out on YouTube tomorrow, so people can watch it as well. But I think there's 44 still watching us, so thank you very much for those that are with us. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this really was just to keep the running community together at this time, and have a chance to be able to talk with very good runners, and just to get a sense of what you're doing and get your advice and think back on some better times really. You know, it is frustrating at the moment, isn't it, not being able to get out in the way that we want to. So thank you very much for tonight, and we'll stop there so we can get out and we can applaud the NHS and the key workers. But just got a final word for us before we go?
No, thanks very much
thanks, John,
for having us, John. We really enjoyed it, and thanks to everyone for the questions.
We'll try and answer some of the questions directly
the ones on
the thread.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, thank you.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers, John.
Thanks,
okay,
John.
So we'll say goodbye, and thank you very much, everybody. Right.